Friday the 8th of May, we will be marking a very important day. It is the 75th anniversary since the end of the Second World War in Europe, which had lasted almost 6 years. This is known as VE Day. On the 7th of May, our Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, addressed the nation, announcing that Germany had surrendered and that the war in Europe was over. He declared the next day, the 8th of May 1945, as the Victory in Europe Day, and declared this a holiday for everyone. To commemorate this event, the early May bank holiday, which is usually on a Monday, is now taking place this Friday to mark VE Day. Now, there are lots of events going on Friday and across the weekend to give thanks to those people that died in the war and to remember those people who we lost. On VE Day 1945, as you can imagine, it was a moment for huge celebration. Crowds flocked to public spaces, there were street parties, people were celebrating with other people they'd never met before. It was a real time for communities to come together. The biggest crowd was in London, where 50,000 people came to the streets. A huge gathering took place outside Buckingham Palace, and the King and the Queen and their daughters and our Prime Minister came out to wave at the public. Now, this was a time for celebration, but it was also a time for reflection and sorrow. And in a quote from Churchill from the 8th of May 1945, he says, "We may allow ourselves a brief period of rejoicing, but let us not forget a moment the toils and efforts that lie ahead." VE Day was also a sad day. There was a huge amount of damage left from the war. People were left devastated and millions of people had died. The soldiers that had returned home were left with the memories of the war and the conflict. 135,000 people were also left outside of the UK, unable to get home. They did eventually get home, mostly by the Christmas of 1945. Included in this was a man called Geoffrey Heiser. Geoffrey, 3 years after joining the RAF, was flying with his crew over Germany when it was hit. Fire took hold and he fell without a parachute. He survived but was badly injured. He was captured and spent the rest of the war in a prisoner of war camp. When he heard the war in Europe was over, he was nervous and scared to return home. He dreaded the big parties and felt his family could never understand what he had been through, and he couldn't understand what they had been through at home. Now, 18 million service personnel were killed in the war in Europe. 45 million civilians had been killed, and 67,000 people were killed in the air raids in the UK. When King George VI gave his speech on VE Day, he called upon people to remember those people who had given their lives in the war in Europe. He also said to make the world such a world as they would have desired for their children and for ours. So what can we do to remember, to celebrate and to give thanks? Now, in normal circumstances, we will be celebrating together, but we must continue to stay home. But we must make sure that we mark this historic day on the Friday the 8th of May. Now, there is so much going on, and I want to explain a few bits now. Now, there is an additional folder that's been put into the Dover Christchurch Academy OneDrive with some additional activities you can do to mark this very special day. That folder includes a diary entry template, it includes a peace poster that you can complete, and it also includes a celebratory menu that you can complete for what you might eat to celebrate this very historic day on Friday. Now, in that folder is also a step-by-step on how to make your own bunting. Now, if like me, you don't have a printer and you can't print out the templates that have been put in there, there is a little step-by-step on how to do it at home without one. As you can see behind me and my family also produced them today. So you could put any sort of different decorations on there. You can put the Union Jack, you could mark it with the VE Day 75 if you wanted to, or something personal to you. You might know somebody who fought in the war or somebody who had died in the war that you might want to create a little bunting to put in your house window to mark this special day. The Royal British Legion also has a special place on their website where you can write down any remembrance messages. Now, on the day itself, there's lots of things going on. At 11 a.m, there will be a 2-minute silence to reflect and to remember. Lots of people are taken to their doors to do this, but it's up to you. It will be on the TV. At 3 o'clock, the BBC are showing Winston Churchill's VE Day speech. And after that, people have been asked to raise a toast to remember those people who died in the war. At 9 p.m, our Queen will address the nation, marking the very exact time her father addressed the nation on the VE Day in 1945. After that, there will be a sing-along for Vera Lynn's We'll Meet Again. Now, we would really, really like to see all of the things that you guys are doing to celebrate this very important day. So any pictures of the bunting, any pictures that you have created, please send through to us, and we would really, really like to see it. Keep an eye on your emails and keep an eye on the Dover Christchurch Academy Facebook page for further instructions on how we can mark Friday the 8th, VE Day, the 75th anniversary since the end of the war in Europe. As always, if you need me, please give me an email. Thank you. Bye.